$1,000 with the no sales tax special. Call 800-WATER-99 or visit lifesourcewater.com. And soon, warranty limitations apply.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers have an early season test to find out how good they really are without LeBron. They're in Oklahoma City tonight to take on the defending NBA champions. OKC has the NBA's best record at 11-1, and they're 5-0 at home. At 8-3, the Lakers have the third best record in the Western Conference. 6:30 tip-off tonight on ESPN. The Clippers are at home tonight against Denver. The Clippers are trying to snap a 5-game losing streak. USC women's basketball star Juju Watkins is using some of her NIL money to invest in Boston Legacy FC, a new franchise in the National Women's Soccer League, a pro league with 16 teams around the U.S. Watkins, a junior from Compton, is sitting out this season to recover from a knee injury. Watkins' NIL revenue reportedly is $765,000. She has endorsement deals with Nike, United Airlines, Fanatics, Ritz Crackers, and Degree Underarm Deodorant. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580, standing with you in perilous times. If you've been impacted by the federal government shutdown or the discontinuation of SNAP benefits, you can find a food bank near you that's offering free groceries by going to lafoodbank.org or call 211. Additionally, LA County offers free meals at certain parks. There are meals and snacks for kids and seniors. Visit parks.lacounty.gov to find out which centers are offering which programs and to register in advance. And in addition to offering 2 free meals per day for all students, the LA Unified School District provides weekend meal kits for its students by request. The meal kits can be picked up on Fridays at grab-and-go locations. Please visit lausd.org/Cafe LA. That's lausd.org/CAFELA. We keep us safe. We keep us provided for. We keep us connected. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Looking for some trouble for anyone who give me some. I was young and crazy. Didn't know what my life would be. I was dumb and oh so lazy. Something had a spell on me.
Miles sometimes is just too cute by that much. He knows that the guest I'm about to talk to is from Buffalo. And so he is giving you Buffalo's best, Rick James. That was funny to me. Sometimes he surprises me. I'm like, sometimes I think he ain't really tapped in. He's totally tapped in. He knows that India Walton hails from Buffalo, and so there you have some Rick James. So India Walton is here for the hour. Noted progressive activist and senior strategist at the Roots Action Education Fund, for a conversation on whether the Mamdani election victory in New York City can, in fact, power a progressive surge in 2026. India, good to have you back. How are you? And what do you think of Miles playing that Rick James from Buffalo?
When I first heard it came on, I said, I see what you did there. I am well. Thank you for having me again, Tavis.
It's good to have you on the program. Great to hear your voice. Let me just start before we got a whole hour here. There's a lot of progressive conversation or a conversation about the future of progressivism that I want to have here. But I want to start just by asking your read, and again, stretch out here for a second, your read of the campaign that Mamdani ran, your read of the Democratic establishment not really embracing him, and ultimately your read of his victory. We'll get to how he governs, a little bit later in this conversation, but I just want to get your read of the full frame of this campaign. And I asked that of India Walton, knowing full well, speaking of Buffalo, that she was a front runner for mayor in Buffalo as a progressive, and the establishment did not embrace her. So this is a story that India knows as well as anybody I know. So with that said, take a few minutes here to just give me your overarching view, your thoughts, your frame as to how you saw this campaign, and then I will jump from there.
Yeah, so I'll just start by saying that Zoran is my homie. He was one of the first people to encourage me to run. He actually came and campaigned for me in 2021 when I ran. So when I saw that he announced, I was excited because I know his politics. And I know that he's true to what he says he believes. I've seen him on the front line, on hunger strikes with taxi workers and fighting for housing rights and things like that as an assembly member. So it excited me, and even more so to know that New York City has public campaign financing so that he would be able to run a competitive race with that. I think it's a 7-to-1 match or something like that. So I knew that there was a good chance that he would run a competitive race. And as we began to get into it, and I saw his presence in the media and the branding and the messaging, I knew he was going to win.
What did you make of his branding and his messaging? I'm spending this hour with India because I want to see what lessons we can take away. The way he used social media, the way he messaged, the way he branded himself. To use your terms, what did you make of the way he did that? Because there are lessons in that, quite frankly, that Andrew Cuomo should have learned, that others I hope will learn about how to reach voters in this era, 2025 and beyond.
I think that his branding and messaging and the way it all was packaged was really speaking to working class people who are not those triple prime voters or members of the donor class who politicians normally speak to. He took it to the streets. His volunteer operations, I think all, through the primary and general, they recruited and deployed more than 90,000 volunteers. And even all of the affinity groups that sort of popped up around the campaign, right? Hotties were Zoran, bodega cats were Zoran, right? And all of these special little niche groups just proved that he really created a big tent campaign where everyone felt welcome, right? It's not that you paid your $250 contribution at the fundraiser and now you get responses to emails. Is that everyone was welcome, everyone had a role to play, and I think that he spoke to folks in language that they understood about affordability, about the rent, about childcare, about transportation, and things that really impact New Yorkers every day.
The storyline about Jeffrey Epstein and what Donald Trump knew and what Donald Trump did at his house and who he did it with. That storyline notwithstanding, that is, of course, the breaking news of the day. Many Democrats across the country are still in their feelings, as am I, about these defector Democrats who sort of sold us out in this vote earlier this week. That's my read of it. So we got some issues right now with these traditional old line Democratic establishment party members, which raises, I think, a pressing question right about now. What does Mamdani's win in New York mean for Democrats? The answer is pretty obvious to me. It's complicated. We're going to try to unpack some of that complication in this hour. Say nothing of how he governs now that he's won. Can he keep the promises that he made? Does he moderate? He's already said he's going to keep the same police chief, the police commissioner in New York, in that position. A lot of folk ain't happy about that. But does he moderate? And Mamdani did a great job, as you heard India say a moment ago, of culling together a pretty broad progressive base. but he still didn't do it for black people. Dr. Cornel West on this program the other day, and we talked about this, about why Mamdani, why Bernie Sanders, why these progressives in these campaigns still can't tap into black voters. Why do black voters not really trust these candidates, even though they're pushing agendas that are otherwise, advantageous for us? But they don't know how to market, to brand, to communicate with black voters. Bernie couldn't do it. Zoran can't do it. India did it in Buffalo, but India's black. So you have that. A great deal more to talk about with India Walton when we come forward here on Tavis Smiley.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
Free training starts soon. Check us out online or at an SMP open house near you. We're on a mission to stop fraud. Join our team. You make a difference. Visit CASMPvolunteer.org.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Nationwide is so much more than a great insurance company. They're one of America's largest financial services companies. Like how I'm more than Saquon Barkley, the NFL's reigning leading rusher. I'm also the NFL's leading husher. Shh, hush up back there. Wow, I might have just set the hushing record. Well, almost. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Investment Services Corporation, member FINRA, Columbus, Ohio.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code MAJOR25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code MAJOR25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code MAJOR25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and India Walton, Buffalo-based New York activist, senior strategist at the Roots Action Education Fund, former candidate for mayor in Buffalo when Zoran Mamdani came to Buffalo to campaign for her. In her run as a progressive, she was endorsed by Mamdani, endorsed by Bernie, I think AOC, I don't know, all the progressives lined up behind India Walton in her race for Buffalo. She was not successful in that, but ran a strong campaign. And so, as you heard a moment ago, she was thrilled then when Mamdani, who had campaigned for her, announced his candidacy in New York City. Of course, he did, in fact, pull this off against all the odds. And so we're talking in this hour, again, in case you've just tuned in, about what his election in New York means for Democrats. My answer is complicated, and we're trying to work through some of those complications in this hour and determine whether or not this victory can power a progressive surge in 2026 and beyond. So again, a lot to get to. Let me start with this, with India. I mentioned moments ago, as you heard, that obviously as an African American, you didn't have difficulty tapping in with black it off. Dr. West, I mentioned, was here the other day and made the point that Bernie was running the most progressive campaign a few years ago His platform was better for black folk than any other platform, and yet Bernie couldn't tap into, had difficulty, in fact, tripped himself up a couple of times trying to connect with black voters. Dr. West made the point that part of Mamdani's problem is that he's trying to lead with an immigrant narrative. You can't lead with an immigrant narrative when you're trying to play the black people. You know, we built this country, you know the story, you know your history, but he was talking about the fact that Mamdani looks through the wrong lens when he frames his message about America, and that lens, that immigrant lens, tends to leave black people out. It was a deep philosophical conversation with Dr. West, as they always are. I digress on that point for now, but I am fascinated to hear your take on how you're being one of these progressive candidates. You got it when it came to campaigning to black people. Mamdani still ain't figured that out, successful though he may have been. Bernie still ain't figured that out, whether he ever runs again. But you take my point. I digress. The microphone is yours.
You know, I think the biggest issue that we have here is a lack of trusted messengers. We don't trust white folks.
Yep.
I don't care what you say. And as a relatively unknown candidate in New York City, I mean, he's a sitting assembly person, so a lot of folks were familiar with him. But I think that, you know, a part of the strategy of the opposition also is to convince people that we are not Democrats. They say, you know, a Muslim socialist or he's a communist. And that plays to people's fears. And I think that as a community, we have a lot of education to do in our community about what democratic socialism means to people who are actually involved. Because like you said, these policies are wildly popular with black folks, with poor people, with working class people. And, you know, I won the black vote in the general election that I lost, but I struggled to get the black vote during the primary because people were unfamiliar with me. And, you know, there was a narrative that I was a tool of the white progressives who had put me up to it, which nothing was further from the truth. But I would go and I would speak to people and I would say, well, what could I do to earn your vote? And they would say, well, I can't vote for you because you're a socialist. And then I would ask them about the cost of their rent. Or I would ask them about city services like plowing the streets or picking up the trash. And these were all things that were important to them. So I think that we are allowing the narrative to be stripped away from us very successfully in many cases. And one thing that was different about the Mamdani campaign is that it was so interwoven into his identity and into his campaign that it wasn't a shock for people to hear it because they had been hearing it all along.
I wonder, to your mind, whether or not this label, this democratic socialist label, as we see more candidates running in that frame, Mamdani has done it again successfully. Bernie Sanders did quite well with that label. Even independent. I wonder if that label, to your mind, is becoming better understood by the American people with the onset of more people running for office wearing that label proudly, or whether or not it's becoming more of a barrier, an obstacle to success, never mind what Zoran did in New York City.
I think that the American people are beginning to better understand what it means. And I mean, when we think about the timeline of the United States and the two-party system, democratic socialism, number one, is not a political party, right? It's more of a political and economic ideology. However, it's very young compared to the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, who now I believe people are beginning to see are different sides of the same coin. Both the Democrats and the Republicans are beholden to millionaires and billionaires and corporations and the pharmaceutical lobby and the healthcare lobby and the real estate lobby, and people are fed up with that. So if we have people like myself, like Nina Turner, like Dr. Cornel West, who are saying, I'm not going to take money from corporations. I'm not going to take money from AIPAC. I'm not going to be controlled. I'm only taking small dollar donations from real people because that's who I'm going to be beholden to. I think that that is a resonant message, notwithstanding all of the wonderful policy proposals. Right now, you know, Bernie Sanders ran on Medicare for all, and now we're looking at health premiums doubling, tripling, skyrocketing to the point where people are not going to be able to afford health care. And Medicare for all would solve that issue unequivocally for American people. So I think that people are beginning to realize that it's not a scary thing. We're not here to take anything away from you. We are here to level the playing field and give people what they need and deserve to live thriving and dignified lives.
Yep. What is the message? As I said earlier, there are many messages from this campaign. There are many meanings one could take from his success in New York City. Mamdani, lessons that Democrats could take. As I said a couple times already, I think it's complicated with regard to what it means, and we're kind of work through some of those complications in this conversation. But one thing is clear, and you made this point earlier, India, he absolutely found a way to communicate, to tap into the working class with that message of affordability. Democrats haven't won the white vote since the early 60s. And so they've been struggling for all these years. So were it not for us, I'm talking about black folk now, as the most loyal base of the Democratic Party, and a few other constituencies that are lining up alongside us to support Democrats, the party would have fallen flat. Not that they ain't on life support right now, but they would have fallen flat a long time ago. But he found a way to tap into the working class. And this, I think, ought to be instructive and informative, and I might even add inspiring for Democrats if they're willing to take the lessons of how you talk to working class voters. That's the trouble they've been having. So all that said, what are the lessons that Democrats ought to be taking on this particular issue about how to communicate, how to work, how to succeed with the working class?
Democrats can take from this campaign and others like it is grassroots organizing. I think, you know, all of the mail we received during campaign season, all of the commercials, those are not as meaningful as having one-on-one conversations with people. And, you know, this sort of distributed model of organizing that comes out of organizations like the DSA is that it's not that Zoran had to go and knock 500,000 doors. Is that there are, you know, messengers that are going on his behalf in their churches, in their temples and synagogues, in their apartment buildings, in their book clubs, and talking him up, talking to their parents about him and their colleagues and what so have you. And I think that the Democrats are still stuck on this sort of top-down strategy. Well, if my name is the loudest and most familiar, then I'm going to automatically win. And that's not necessarily true anymore. I think that people are just paying way more attention to what the policies are that people are running on and not only whether they recognize their name or not.
Yep. So we mentioned earlier, I wanted to talk about how Zoran Mamdani is going to govern. It's one thing to win. It's another thing to govern. How does he keep his promises? How does he deliver on all that good stuff, all that free stuff that he said he wanted to deliver for voters? Does he moderate? I don't know anybody who runs as far to the left as Mamdani ran, who at some point doesn't figure out they got to moderate to govern and to get reelected. And it's a sad reality, but it's as real as rain. So the question is, when you run as a Democratic Socialist, when you win as a progressive, I'm pushing my way to a broader conversation about whether or not what happened in New York City can power a progressive surge next year in the midterms and beyond. We're working our way toward that essential question, that principal question. But before I do that, though, I want to talk here again about how he governs at this point. Just take a listen to Mamdani in his own words. You're listening to India Walton on Tavis. Smiley.
Governor Hochul also mentioned recently that you and she have had conversations about how to possibly prevent issues with ICE, National Guard troops being sent to our city. How might you prevent it? And is there a conversation about possibly your reaching out to the federal government in advance to try to start that conversation? Or are you going to wait to hear from them?
No, I will be proactive in the work that I do. And I think that is because of the responsibility I hold to 8.5 million people of being their mayor. It is important that you are open to working with anyone, no matter what disagreements you may have. And I've said this when it pertains to President Trump, that President Trump wants to speak about lowering the cost of living or delivering cheaper groceries like he ran on. I'm there to have that conversation. The distinction will be that previous administrations have looked to have that conversation to the benefit of themselves and the expense of the people that we look to serve.
Understood, but do you plan to call President Trump?
I will be reaching out to the White House and as we prepare to actually take office, because this is a relationship that will be critical to the success of the city.
So it wasn't just a hypothetical scenario on our debate stage. You're actually going to call him. What will you say?
Well, I'll say that I'm here to work for the benefit of everyone that calls the city home, and that wherever there is a possibility for working together towards that end, I'm ready. And if it's to the expense of those New Yorkers, I will fight it.
So I sort of laughed, India, when I heard that clip, because that ain't what he said on election night. He went in pretty hard on Donald Trump on election night on that stage. But now he's suggesting, yes, I'm going to call Donald Trump. This is a partnership that we need on behalf of New Yorkers.
Election night speech on primary night, where I said we're coming for every seat, right? Victory speeches are not, they have become for public consumption, but when you're in that moment, the things you're saying it to that room. Right. You're saying it to your supporters and people who've been in the trenches with you and who understand the sheer energy and plight. And, you know, when you sober up a few days later, the fact of the matter is that he has to be a mayor for everyone, not just the people in that room. Right. So I think that his response to the question was appropriate. And I think that, you know, his victory night speech was just that. It was a victory speech that should leave room for a little more energy than we'll get with these sort of standard answers, because winning is something different than governance.
Yep, it is indeed. I asked India earlier in this conversation, as you heard, about this label, Democratic Socialist, and whether or not as more people run and more people win, that terminology is being better understood, or whether or not it remains an obstacle or barrier to people winning. But there's evidence. There's a big story in the Washington Examiner that lays out some nice detail about this. But there's evidence that Democratic Socialists are quietly running and winning and capturing city councils across America. So Tip O'Neill famously said many years ago, Speaker of the House, that all politics is local. He was right about that. But at the local level, there are any number of Democratic Socialists who are quietly, again, running, successfully capturing city council seats all across this country. So Democratic Socialists are coming on, and they're coming on strong, if not slowly, if not methodically, which raises the obvious question as to whether or not what Mamdani pulled off in New York City can, in fact, power a progressive surge in 2026 and beyond. That is the question that we will let India Walton wrestle with when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Helping to stretch your moral and political imagination. This is Tavis Smiley.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Senator Dick Durbin is defending his vote to end the shutdown after backlash from Democrats.
I share their opinions of this administration, but cannot accept a strategy which wages political battle at the expense of my neighbor's paycheck or the food for his children.
The bill funds SNAP through next September and keeps most of the government running until January 30th. Black Congresswoman Terry Sewell visited the Selma Area Food Bank, which reports a 30% spike in demand during the shutdown. She's pushing for federal funding to protect SNAP and keep food banks serving families in Alabama's Black Belt. And TMZ says Wendy Williams has been reevaluated and does not have frontotemporal dementia. Doctors found no sign of the condition that put her under guardianship in 2022, and her legal team now plans to fight to restore her independence. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Families have been loving LifeSource Whole House water systems for over 40 years. And now, when you buy LifeSource, you can save up to $1,000. Warranty limitations apply.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers have an early season test to find out how good they really are without LeBron. They're in Oklahoma City tonight to take on the defending NBA champions. OKC has the NBA's best record at 11-1, and they're 5-0 at home. At 8-3, the Lakers have the third best record in the Western Conference. 6:30 tip-off tonight on ESPN. The Clippers are at home tonight against Denver. The Clippers are trying to snap a 5-game losing streak. USC women's basketball star Juju Watkins is using some of her NIL money to invest in Boston Legacy FC, a new franchise in the National Women's Soccer League, a pro league with 16 teams around the U.S. Watkins, a junior from Compton, is sitting out this season to recover from a knee injury. Watkins' NIL revenue reportedly is $765,000. She has endorsement deals with Nike, United Airlines, Fanatics, Ritz Crackers, and Degree Underarm Deodorant. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Race, social justice, sports, politics, art, music, culture. We do it all on the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show. If you're not tuning in, then you are definitely missing out. It's the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show weekdays from 2 to 4 only on unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580.
Like a brand new flavor in your head.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next, and enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Your ambition just met its match with Robinhood. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. All investments involve risk, including loss of principal. Options, futures, and crypto trading carry significant risk and may not suit all investors. Securities offered through Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Futures trading is offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, not FDIC or SIPC protected. Crypto offered through Robinhood Crypto LLC, NMLS ID 1702840, not FDIC or SIPC protected. Portfolio management offered by Robinhood Strategies, an SEC registered advisor.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
Yeah. Jazz boy, Jazz boy.
ask me no questions, just listen to this. She catch a one-way flight to kick it wherever I'm at. So if she wanna stay, then the bitch never come back. You wanna know how a chip feel? I've been there once. This year 3 in the beginning of a 10-year run. And as predicted, my persistence got my name on all the lists. Had a brick before rap, like that dope boy from Memphis. I survived all them death threats and 3 felony convictions. Plug found out my whole team was hot. He kept his distance.
That's a track called One Way Flight. Miles is giving India Walton all kind of love today, and the music scene in Buffalo. That's Benny the Butcher and Griselda. Benny the Butcher, as I recall, endorsed India Walton when she ran for mayor in Buffalo. So we gave you some Rick James earlier. Now you get some Griselda with Benny the Butcher. Again, a track called One Way Flight. So we giving Buffalo, the music scene there, all kind of love. Am I right about that? Did Benny endorse you when you ran?
Benny did endorse me, and fun fact, I registered him to vote for the first time.
Wow. I didn't know that part of the story. You registered Benny the Butcher to vote.
I registered Benny the Butcher to vote.
Wow. That's a great story. I didn't realize that. It could take us, if I had the time, into a conversation about felons, former felons having the right to vote once they have done their time. But I love that story. That who knew that India Walton registered Benny the Butcher to vote? That's a nice track, the One Way Flight from Griselda. Anyway, I guess India Walton, in case you've not figured that out, she's in Buffalo. In case you ain't figured that out, she ran for mayor in Buffalo. In case you ain't figured that out, and you should also know she's senior strategist these days at the Roots Action Education Fund, and we are continuing our conversation now. I'm doing a number of conversations, about post-election analysis and assessments. This conversation is specifically about whether or not Mamdani's win in New York City can, in fact, power a progressive surge in 2026 and beyond. I mentioned earlier, in case you just tuned in, there is new data that suggests that Democratic Socialists, which is how Zoran identified himself, as does India, as does Bernie Sanders, as does Cornel West and many others, there's evidence that a lot of these Democratic Socialists are quietly running and winning seats on city councils all across the country. A big article in the Washington Examiner. You can Google it and read it for yourself. But the data is pretty astounding and pretty arresting, I suspect, to some Democrats. But astounding is the data about how these Democratic Socialists are starting to make their move. And when you have somebody like Bernie, who's, established himself, and Zoran Mamdani pulls this off in New York Smith, an opinion editor. We had John Wood Jr. on this program in our first hour today. He is also an opinion contributor for USA Today, but this is Jacob Smith. And Jacob Smith says this, the question now that Mamdani has won in New York City is what this victory means both for New York City and the Democratic Party going forward. I'm reading. There are a number of lessons that national Democratic leaders can take from Mamdani's victory. First, his relentless focus on affordability is likely to be a winning message for Democratic candidates across the country. Check. India and I have discussed that. Additionally, an aggregation of polls shows that inflation is President Donald Trump's worst issue. Democrats should get that message. Mamdani used that issue of inflation quite nice in his campaign, connected to affordability. His pledge to stand up to Trump could also serve as a roadmap for the Democratic Party. He wasn't scared, as we discussed earlier in this conversation. Another message that Democrats can take from the victory in New York City. Democrats should be wise, says Jacob Smith in this article, be wise to listen to New York Democratic voters' rejection of former Governor Andrew Cuomo. In an era, he writes, where a significant percentage of voters believe government officials to be corrupt, Mamdani's pledge to root out corruption and waste in government is likely to be a winning issue that cuts across party lines. Another lesson Democrats can take from Zoran's victory in New York City. At the same time, though, Jacob Smith writes, here it is, wait for it, India. At the same time, Mamdani's victory does not mean that the entire country is ready for democratic socialism, the ideological label embraced by the mayor-elect and politicians like Bernie Sanders, independent of Vermont. According to an NBC News poll, 18% of respondents nationally viewed socialism favorably, compared with 49% who viewed socialism negatively. As a point of comparison, 44% of respondents viewed capitalism favorably, compared with 28% who viewed capitalism negatively. So if you look at the numbers, at least in this recent NBC News poll, never mind the success in New York City, America writ large ain't yet ready for democratic socialists, even though they're winning in local elections. That's a mouthful, India, but pick that apart for me, if you will.
Yeah, I think the question that's missing in that poll is, do people know what democratic socialism is? I think that because we were just raised in a capitalist system and we've been sold that this American dream is attainable for everyone, that is something that's just internalized, right? Even though now we know people are strapped under crippling student debt and medical debt. We have a president who's talking about 50-year mortgages and 15-year car notes, right? Like, that is not freedom under a capitalist system. And I think that what we have to get away from is this notion that rugged individualism is going to get us there, and that we're one step away from being a part of the millionaire class. We're not. We're one illness, we're one car breakdown, we're one life emergency away from destitution and poverty, and we need those social safety nets to be able to catch us if and when we fall. And I mean, I think that people don't think about socialism in terms of things like social security. In terms of things like municipal so that people know the difference between capitalism and socialism at its core. And I think also, like, the examples that people use as how it's not working, right? When we talk about Cuba and Venezuela, you have countries where the U.S. government has gone in and undermined and dismantled their government and caused chaos out of greed.
That's right.
We don't think about countries like Norway and Sweden, who are consistently rated some of the happiest nations in the world. And we don't have time to talk about it today, but a lot of the reasons why they're able to be successful with it is because there is a homogenous society. Everybody's white. And when everyone is white, everyone believes that people do deserve food, shelter, and healthcare. And in this country, we have been taught that some people deserve those things and other people do not.
I hear you loud and clear. What you're saying to me in the audience is that race is a part of the way democratic socialism is perceived, or not?
Absolutely. Absolutely that.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, it confuses me because no one seems to be offended that Andrew Cuomo gave Elon Musk $956 million of taxpayer money, and he's about to be a trillionaire. No one is batting an eye that Kathy Hochul gave $1 billion to the billionaire Pagula family to build a football stadium, which no one can live in and no one receives health care out of. It's okay to have socialism for the uber wealthy, right? Like, the conversations we should be having is that people need SNAP because they're working at Walmart under trillionaires. They're working at Amazon under a billionaire, and they're not even making enough money working a full-time job to put food on the table. We will subsidize and give socialism to the rich people, the richest people in this country, without any cause for concern. But when we talk about taking care of poor people, because we associate that with a black person, a brown person, an immigrant person, a person that's non-white, it must mean it's because they're not working hard enough, they're lazy, and they're using the system.
It's powerful. Powerful formulation. Our guest is India Walton. I happen to know, because I know her, that she is a nurse by trade. And so she mentioned healthcare a moment ago. She mentioned SNAP a moment ago. Democrats drew a line in the sand initially about healthcare. That was the issue on which they were willing to die. That's the hill on which they were willing to fight and die until they weren't. And then these 8 Democrats defected. We were told there are more Democrats who wanted to defect, but they needed just enough to deal with that filibuster rule. 8 was the number. And so as you heard Chris Matthews say on this program yesterday, nobody's stuck on stupid. We know why the number was 8, even though there were more than 8, excuse me, who wanted to step out in that way. But if you missed the Chris Matthews conversation about that yesterday, check out the podcast. It was a powerful dissection of why that number happened to be, excuse me, why that number was 8 yesterday. But again, India by training is a nurse. And I want to ask her, since she went there, about healthcare and SNAP, how she's processing this debate, this vote debate, and how these Democrats defected the other day. As a nurse, how does she process this conversation? What does it really mean that John Thune promised a vote?
More when we come forward.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month. LifeLock is here with tips to help protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication, report scams, and update your software. And for comprehensive identity protection, LifeLock is your best choice. LifeLock alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal information and fixes identity theft, guaranteed, or your money back. Start your protection today with a 30-day free trial at lifelock.com. Use promo code NEWS. Terms apply.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
Chuck Schumer, minority leader in the Senate, is facing mounting calls from Democrats to resign as leader, given this fiasco that we are enduring. That's got nothing. And again, I underscore the fact, no naivete here, these are members of the House, not the Senate, at least not yet. But there's a long list of names that's growing of members of the House who are calling for Chuck Schumer to stand down. Rashida Tlaib, Democrat of Michigan. Seth Moulton, Democrat of Massachusetts. Mike Levin, Democrat of California. Ro Khanna, Democrat of California. Veronica Escobar, Democrat of Texas. Sylvia Garcia, Democrat of Texas. Delia Ramirez, Democrat of Illinois. Glenn Ivey, Democrat Maryland. Mark Pocan, Democrat of Wisconsin. Emily Randall, Democrat of Washington. There's a long and growing list of Democrats in the House, certainly, say nothing of other institutions and organizations who are demanding that Chuck Schumer resign as leader. But that's a long list of office holders who are suggesting that Chuck Schumer's time has ended, his time is up, and that he ain't the answer to the prayer. But that list is growing by the day. I say all that as a lead up to, again, reminding you that India Walton, for all the things that she is, and she does a great many things quite nicely, quite well, but she's also a nurse by trade. And she mentioned healthcare and SNAP. And so I'm wondering, as a nurse, professionally, how you are viewing this meltdown, as it were, about ACA, about healthcare, on which Democrats, at one point at least, drew a line in the sand.
It's a wholesale failure and betrayal, not only of Democratic voters, but of the American people. You know, clinics and rural hospitals are already closing their doors. It's a travesty. It really is. And Chuck Schumer, being the most powerful person in the Senate, and knowing that the 8 Democrats who voted to reopen the government are not either up for re-election or planning on returning, it doesn't seem like they defected at all. It seems like it was a well-orchestrated plan.
Wow.
Because, as I've said before, our leadership in Congress is not beholden to the American people. They're beholden to the corporations, to the lobbies, and to their ultra-wealthy donors who don't give a damn whether your grandma can go to the hospital and get her blood pressure checked or not.
I hear India loud and clear, as you just did as well. Not a defection at all, but a well-orchestrated plan. Maybe I got to rethink my use of the word defection. India says, not so fast, Tavis. This was a well-orchestrated plan. I hear her loud and clear. Might need to check myself on that particular use of the word defection. Our remaining moments with India Walton when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
This Thanksgiving at Total Wine & More, find bourbons and Cabernets that you adore. Our helpful guides are so friendly and nice, so many bottles to try at the lowest price. So
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and India Walton. I've got 3 minutes left, and I will yield it to the gentle lady from the Roots Action Education Fund in Buffalo, New York. And with all we've talked about in this hour, the exit question is simply this: whether or not Mamdani's victory in New York City and the evidence that we're seeing about these Democratic Socialists quietly running and winning seats at the council level all across the country will in fact power a progressive surge in 2026 and beyond. The last 2.5 minutes belong to you, India Walton.
It is my hope that Mamdani's win will encourage other regular working class people to run for office. I do hope that folks go seek out more information about Democratic Socialists of America. You don't have to join, but I mean the education and the awareness that they spread about local and reliable sources.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just say that, because what we're getting out of a lot of mainstream media is not useful information. And the last thing I'll say is this: we've not been in this particular moment in time before, but let's not pretend like the church aunties haven't always had a pantry or health services. And we know what to do. We know how to keep ourselves safe. We know how to keep ourselves fed. We know how to keep ourselves healthy. And we have to step up and take care of each other as a community, because we're not going to be able to depend on that happening out of our federal government for quite some time. So I just hope that folks just get back to our roots and really begin to care for our families, our neighborhoods, and our communities as a whole.
Yep. I got 30 seconds to say a quick word about Roots Action Education Fund and what you all, in fact, do.
We educate.
Yeah.
We do a lot of independent media. We do anti-war and anti-nuclear work, and you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and you can visit our website at www.rootsaction.org.
Speaking of nuclear work, that's where we're going in our third and final hour. We're going to make the connection in our third hour today about nuclear disarmament and the Black Freedom Movement. You probably know by now that Donald Trump has been boasting about on the eve of his meeting with the leader of China, bringing back nuclear testing and maybe then an arms race. It doesn't sound like a sexy subject until you realize, again, the link between disarmament on the nuclear front and the Black Freedom Movement. I'm talking about Dr. King, Coretta Scott King, Malcolm X, Paul Robeson, Jesse Jackson Sr., Ron Dellums, the National Congress of Black Mayors, a long list of black people who've been on this issue for decades. Now, we'll talk about that in our third and final hour. So I thank India for just sort of teeing that up for me, even though she didn't know she was. India, thank you as always for coming on this program. Thank you for sharing your powerful and deep insights. Wish you nothing but the best, and we'll talk to you soon, I hope.
All right. Thank you so much.
Good to have you back on. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Senator Dick Durbin is defending his vote to end the shutdown after backlash from Democrats.
I share their opinions of this administration, but cannot accept a strategy which wages political battle at the expense of my neighbor's paycheck or the food for his children.
The bill funds SNAP through next September and keeps most of the government running until January 30th. Black Congresswoman Terry Sewell visited the Selma Area Food Bank, which reports a 30% spike in demand during the shutdown. She's pushing for federal funding to protect SNAP and keep food banks serving families in Alabama's Black Belt. And TMZ says Wendy Williams has been reevaluated and does not have frontotemporal dementia. Doctors found no sign of the condition that put her under guardianship in 2022, and her legal team now plans to fight to restore her independence. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Families have been loving LifeSource Whole House Water Systems for over 40 years. And now when you buy LifeSource, you can save up to $1,000 with the no sales tax special. Call 800-WATER-99 or visit LifeSourceWater.